talking about our preferred learning style, and how once you know what your preferred learning style is, how you can then learn your dressage test in a way that will actually increase your chances of remembering it and increase your confidence going into a competition, knowing that you feel like you can remember your test well. So last week I talked about the 4 different learning styles. So we've got visual, kinesthetic, which is feeling and doing, auditory, and auditory digital. So if you missed last week's video, you can go back and watch that, and I explain in a little bit more detail about what those 4 learning styles are and the traits that people have when they fall into those 4 learning styles. And I do have a free writing quiz that you can download if you don't know what your learning style is. So you can download it and there's just a short 5-10 minute quiz, 12 questions that you answer about yourself, and it comes out and tells you what your preferred learning style is. And then you can actually, once you know, it's quite interesting, because once you know your learning style, then you can actually, it just gives you a lot of insights about yourself. So I'm a big kinesthetic, so big feeler and doer, and when I learnt that, when I took the quiz and learnt that, it made a lot of sense to me. So for example, when I go shopping, like clothes shopping or any shopping, I'm always touching everything. So before I decide if I want to buy something or try it on, I touch it. And I guess once I learnt that I'm kinesthetic, it made sense why I had to touch it and feel it and see what it felt like to get an idea if I like it or not. So it's kind of interesting. So there is, before I go in and share what exercises you want to do depending on which learning style you fall into to remember your test the best way for you, I do want to share that they've done a lot of studies, and there's a lot of information on these 4 different learning styles, and over the studies they've worked out that there's a certain percentage of population fall into each category, each for 4 learning styles. So I wanted to talk quickly about that for you because it's interesting as well. So if you fall into visual, if your preferred learning style is visual, then you actually fall into 40% of the population. And same with kinesthetic. Kinesthetic make up about 40% of the population as well. So just between visual and kinesthetic, there's 80% of the population, which is pretty cool. And then if you're auditory or auditory digital, they are both make up 10% of the population each. So they're not as common, I guess. Doesn't mean anything. There's no right or wrong category or learning style to have. It's just once you know, then it's interesting to think about how you can talk to your instructor, and how you communicate to people around you. And it's really interesting to be able to work out what the traits are for each style, so that you can adjust a little bit to have better communication, knowing what your trait is and the people around you. So that's, something I just want to share with you. Now, I want to share with you the different ways you will want to be learning your dressage test depending which category you fall into. So we'll go through one by one. So visual. If you're highly visual, then you're going to be wanting to learn your dressage test by sight, obviously. So you can either read the test off the piece of paper, and just visualizing, just reading it will help it kind of sink into your brain. You might also want someone to record you riding your dressage test, or watch someone else's dressage test, and watching that on a video will help you remember and retain the dressage test. And then the last way is visualizing it. So it's going to be a really key player for someone that's highly visual. You might have someone tell you, like read the test to you, you shut your eyes, you visualize yourself riding it as you're learning your test. Next, we've got kinesthetic. So the people that are kinesthetic are going to want to actually do the dress, like ride, practice, get into the arena, and as your instructor or someone's reading it out to you, ride through it. By riding through the movements, you'll be able to get a better feel for it. And the same, you will also, so I'm kinesthetic, and when I'm doing my dressage test, I like to kind of move my finger if I'm at home, not on the horse, and do the dressage test with my finger, and that really helps me. And at the same time, using visualization as well, but in your visualization, really feeling you riding through the test will help you retain the movements. Then we've got auditory. So someone that's auditory learns well through hearing, and so you can learn your test through someone reading the test out to you, or you reading it out loud to yourself. That's going to be a key player here, and repeating the test back to someone is a great way to learn it if you're auditory. So you say it out loud to them. And then lastly, auditory digital. So these are people that learn well through facts and details and data and logic and sequences. So you will want to make your test step by step. So make it logical and put it into a pattern, I guess. So when you look at the way they design some of the tests in the test learning books, and they have the arena with all the patterns on the arena. So that would be a great way for an auditory digital person to learn their tests. They break it down step by step. So step 1, enter, halt at X, trot off. Step 2, track left or right. Step 3, 20-metre circle or lengthen trot, for example. So that in an auditory digital person's mind, it's broken down into steps and sequences. So that's the best way. And then you can repeat it or think about it in those steps. So you break it right down. So I hope that helps, guys. And if you don't already know your learning style, then just follow the link on this page and you'll be able to download my free riding quiz and work out what your learning style is. Next week we will be talking about beliefs and your beliefs around your ability to remember your dressage test. So that's a really important key part in backing yourself and having confidence about going in and remembering your test. So have a great week, guys, and I will see you next week.